Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. I have a serious question for you today. Are colleges and universities no longer teaching cause and effect? I'll have more on that in just a moment. So let's talk about cause and effect. You have a pail of hot water and you have nothing on your feet. You pick up the pot of hot water and you dump it on your feet. The effect is that your feet are burned by the hot water. You're scalded. But what is the cause? Is it the hot water? Or is it the act of pouring the hot water on your feet? Well, clearly, if it's sitting in the bucket, it didn't have anything to do with burning your feet. Until you picked it up and poured it on your feet, you didn't have any burn. This is simple, basic logic that I think most people understand, except perhaps for certain DAs throughout the country, and the most recent of those is the district attorney in New York City, who has come out with a grand plan to make the city much safer by not locking up criminals. You heard that right. He's not going to lock up criminals. If someone goes into a store with a loaded .357 Magnum handgun, points it at the clerk and says, "Give me all the money," and takes that money and runs out of the store, trips and falls over the foot of a local policeman and is arrested, he is not going to be charged with armed robbery. Why? Because he didn't use the gun. He didn't hurt anyone with the gun. In case you were thinking maybe I was making some of this up, this is from the DA's memo where he says, as you can clearly see, he will not prosecute anything requiring a carceral sentence unless it's required by law. And this is where he says his commitment to not making jail permanent is immutable, in other words, unchangeable. He is not going to change his mind on whether or not to seek incarceration for these dangerous criminals. Oh, and in case you were wondering, yes, even the illegal aliens get a little bit of a break from the new DA. They're not going to be deported if at all possible. That doesn't make much sense either. Therefore, instead of armed robbery, he'll be charged with a misdemeanor property crime. The DA reasons that this will make the community safer because he won't go to prison and he won't lose his job. Apparently, it never occurs to the district attorney that his job is robbing people. If he was working at the local Pizza Hut, he wouldn't need to go stick a gun in the face of other people and take their money. This is not a situation where you make the community safer by charging a lesser crime than the crime that's actually committed. Oh, and if somebody breaks into your house and steals your property, that's a property crime. That's not going to be prosecuted either. Selling drugs? No, sorry. We're not going to prosecute that either because that's a quote-unquote victimless crime. Well, certainly murder and aggravated assault, right? I mean, those are felonies. Those will be prosecuted, right? Maybe. It seems that aggravated assault probably won't be prosecuted as aggravated assault. It will probably be prosecuted as a misdemeanor assault, if at all possible. And unless somebody is actually hurt or injured, it's probably not going to be charged as a felony. So just sticking a gun in someone's face, that's no longer a crime apparently in New York City. Now, keep in mind, this is the poster boy. New York City is the poster boy for gun control, right? They have lots of gun control there. You can't walk down the street with a gun unless you have a carry permit, and you can't get a carry permit without 64,000 pages of attestations by people who know you swearing that you're not going to use it to hurt anyone, especially the criminals. That's in fact what's in front of the Supreme Court right now. New York City's gun law with regard to concealed carry permits, which essentially says you don't get one unless you can prove that you have been personally threatened by someone who is likely to carry out the threat and kill you. So the only way you know if it was likely is later on at the funeral. I digress. It appears that the district attorney, the newly elected district attorney, does not understand cause and effect. This calls into question certain questions. Was he dropped on his head as a child? Did he eat too many paint chips? Does he only have 5 brain cells and 4 are on vacation? I don't know the answer to any of those questions, but there must be something wrong with someone who says that when he prosecutes a murder, he is not going to ask for life without parole, that he will always ask for a possibility of parole on all life sentences. Now, prison is not a nice place. It's certainly not a nice place to spend the rest of your life. But when you take somebody else's life, why in the world would you ever expect to be in a good place later on? It makes absolutely no sense to prosecute criminals in this way. Plus, it also sets up what I would call a failure of the justice system. Because you have 2 people, one who commits a murder in New York City and one who commits a murder in Albany. The murderer who commits the murder in Albany gets life without parole because their DA understands the law and enforces it. And the person in New York City gets life with the possibility of parole, claims to have reformed his life, and gets out of jail in 10 years while the other guy sits in there for the rest of his life. Now, I don't feel sorry for the guy who has to sit in there for the rest of his life, but it creates this discord between what the law says and what the law actually is. And so, to a certain extent, with respect to the man in Albany, it's a denial of due process in that there is no substantive due process for him simply because he chose the wrong venue to commit his murder in. Now, it's easy to say that this particular statement by the district attorney about what he will prosecute and what he won't prosecute is merely a flag wave to the people who elected him. It's him signaling to them that he's going to be a kinder and gentler DA. But there are several things that, I almost forgot to mention. He's not going to prosecute resisting arrest. So if somebody is going to be arrested for a bad crime, why wouldn't they resist? They're not going to get charged for it. And if they happen to kill a cop or an innocent civilian on the street, or they release a barrage of 50 rounds from a Mac 10, why wouldn't you? If you're the criminal and you don't want to get caught, why wouldn't you do that? When you have a policy that says you're not going to do certain things, it encourages people to do those things that you are not going to prosecute. Prostitution. There's another crime he's not going to prosecute. Now, a lot of people believe that prostitution is a victimless crime. I once represented an individual who engaged in the facilitation of that crime, and I can tell you that it is very much a crime with victims. It's a victim, not only are the people who utilize the prostitutes victims at some point because they're going to catch a venereal disease or AIDS or something like that, but the women themselves become victims. It ruins their lives. And I saw that up close and personal in the case that I handled. So all of this calls into question, when will the pendulum swing back the other way? Well, when police officers leave because they're no longer protected, nobody's going to be prosecuted if they attack a cop. They're going to leave. They're going to come down south. The assistant district attorneys who have been prosecuting these crimes and trying to put people away for doing bad things, they're going to look around and say, why am I trying? And they're going to leave. You're going to lose a lot of experience from the office. The people you get in the office aren't going to have the experience. And as a result, you're going to lose the cases that you do try because you have inept people doing that job. It is absolutely amazing to me that someone would institute these policies. But sometimes the states are referred to as the great laboratory of democracy. I don't see any way possible for this to make the city safer. But we'll have an answer within 6 to 9 months. We'll have an answer when the crime statistics come out. The only question is, will the media hold this guy accountable? Will the media publish those results? Given what has happened over the course of the last 4 years, my guess is the media will not. Sorry this is a bit of a downer today and something of a rant, but I thought you needed to know this. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Agree or disagree, I'm fine with that. Just keep your comments family friendly. If you haven't already, please go over here and subscribe to our channel. And as always, I thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and I'll catch you on here next time.